crossings on the border down 93%. 93%.
Wow.
That's a bigger decrease than under the first Trump administration. As far as the deportation operation, we're just shy of, I think we got 5,000 already arrested the first week, and majority of them being criminals.
Have you been able to bust into human trafficking operations that are operating in America right now? Because I know that the drug lords got people across, but then they created all these new businesses, drug trafficking and human trafficking businesses, and they've got headquarters in America.
I gotta be careful. We're involved. Let me just leave it at that. A lot of this law enforcement sensitive, but we're aware of a lot of it. We're in the middle of some of it, and you're going to see some things happening in the near future on that.
Very interesting comments there from U.S. border czar Tom Homan, joining me yesterday from an undisclosed location on Sunday Morning Futures, discussing the latest on the Trump administration's deportation operation. ICE has already arrested more than 8,500 illegal migrants between January 21st and just this last Saturday, lodging over 6,000 detainers in that time. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem making her first trip to the southern border over the weekend since being confirmed. Joining me now is Center for Immigration Studies Senior National Security Fellow and author of Overrun, How Joe Biden Unleashed the Greatest Border Crisis in U.S. History, Todd Bensman, back with me. Todd, good to see you. Your reaction to the president's overhaul of things here and this deportation underway, I really like what we just heard from Tom Homan, that he is aware, he's involved. We're going to see something big soon because these drug lords have created huge businesses of human trafficking within our country.
Well, I don't think Kamala Harris intended it this way, but the page has turned. The migrants, on the migrant, the other side, from their perspective, they're seeing that why should I spend $2,000, $3,000, $10,000 to try to cross the U.S. border when I'm going to end up right back in Mexico or even in my home country? Nobody is coming for the great Mexican dream. The whole thing has changed, the whole dynamic, because the odds are very high now that if you do try to cross that border, you're going to end up back at square one, number one. And number two is if you do happen to make it as a runner into the interior, now there's a big chance that ICE is going to come get you at some point. So that's a double whammy from their perspective, and that is absolutely huge. That's why Tom Homan is running around on shows like yours talking about this stuff. He's talking to them. He's talking to the cartels, and he knows it.
Yeah, for sure. You know, President Trump said that Venezuela will now take back migrants deported from the United States. He posted on Truth Social saying it includes illegals, quote, who were encamped in the U.S., including gang members of Tren de Aragua. Venezuela has further agreed to supply the transportation back. You saw what happened with Colombia. The president there urging its citizens illegally in the United States to immediately quit their jobs and return home, Todd. Your reaction to what has taken place here between Venezuela and Colombia?
It's monumental. You know, the Biden-Harris administration could have done this at any time. And not only that, but Colombia and China's probably next. All of these recalcitrant countries around the world are going to have to take back our deportees. And as Trump says, they're going to like it. And it's very important to also realize that just before he left office, Biden expanded temporary protected status on 600,000 Venezuelans. That is now revoked, and everything is set for those hundreds and hundreds of thousands. It's one of the largest groups, nationality groups inside the country that crossed illegally to be deported back. I want to say one other thing about the Venezuelans is the vast majority of them didn't even come from Venezuela. They came from Colombia, Ecuador, places they've been living for years and years with asylum, with work authorization, et cetera. Right. So to send them back to Venezuela is the worst possible thing for them. They probably would prefer to be sent back to these third other countries where they were living happily and prosperously for years, never needed temporary protected status, never needed to come in here at all. The Trump administration should be shipping them to all of those other countries, but I kind of want to see them shipped back to Venezuela.
Well, look, I mean, this Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, has caused massive chaos and upset, harassing people in America. So the fact that they were able to detain some of those members is a huge success. Also a huge success is what Marco Rubio did over the weekend. Marco Rubio went to Panama and came back with real success, convincing the president of Panama to not renew the Belt and Road strategy that they've had in place since 2018 with China. That's huge. And, you know, this is one of the things that President Trump has been complaining about, that the Chinese are overrunning the Panama Canal, Todd.
Well, you also, the thing that people don't, first of all, that is monumental. I mean, it's really amazing. Like, how do you just in a day do something that the prior administration could have done at any time? They're not even talking about what they've got Mexico doing with their military operation Carousel. But the thing that people don't talk a lot about with Panama is there's the Darien Gap, through which almost a million people cross through. And Rubio was down there talking about that, too. They're going to close that Darien Gap. There is going to be U.S. support for deportation flights by Panama for anybody coming through that Darien Gap. And that's terrorists and Tren de Aragua and all sorts of national security threats.
A lot of Chinese nationals, too. Yeah,
80,000.
That's right. About 60,000, I know, Chinese nationals also came through the Darien Gap. But, Todd, I want to quickly mention your op-ed in the New York Post. You write this: Kristi Noem stops taxpayer money from funding illegal migrant flood. This is what we're talking about this morning. How is she stopping taxpayer money from doing that?
I mean, again, just monumental. These NGOs, there's 230 of them down there working with 15 UN agencies for 5 years to spend billions of dollars, $6-7 billion down there, handing out cash, credit cards, debit cards, and everything to all of these migrants coming through to make sure that they can ease their way, grease the skids into the U.S. All of a sudden, Noem is saying no more money. And by the way, it's all taxpayer money, U.S. taxpayer money, saying, yeah, we shut the fire hose off. I think that they need to next turn their attention to the United Nations agencies as well, who are really kind of the mama and papa bear down there arranging the forward movement of millions of migrants. They want to spend $1.1 billion in 2025 and another $1.2 billion in 2026 during the Trump administration. Yeah. That's not good. That just keeps the pressure on our border, hoping to induce a failure. Yeah. So this is a very important move, yes.
Really important points that you're making this morning. Todd, thank you.